How's it going, everybody? It is the 23rd Comic Art Live interview for you. This is Bill Cox, of course. And before we get started, I wanted to give you a few PSAs just so you don't get left out. Remember the best of 2020. The submissions are going to start in early January. I believe Brian Peck has set the date as January 9th. But in order to qualify to have artwork in the best of 2020, you have to have it added to CAF before the end of 2020. So that gives you just over 2 days to get that artwork added to CAF, or it can't be submitted at all. If you do it 1 minute after midnight Eastern Standard Time, you are out of luck. You'll be submitting it to the best of 2021. So I'll give everybody one more warning on Thursday when I do the weekly email, and probably a reminder tomorrow in the daily email, and probably tomorrow night in tomorrow night's CAF update. But I know a lot of people get upset after midnight. Last year the same thing kind of happened. A lot of people got mad because they didn't get their art, and I'm doing as many reminders as I can because I don't want people upset with me. So, and the more art, the merrier for the best of. If you remember the last years, we had a record number of submissions, and it went really well, and it was probably the best one we'd ever had. So I want to make sure that this one is even better. So don't forget to do that. I know that a lot of people have been adding a lot more artwork than usual the last couple of days, so I think they're getting the message. But I want everybody to make sure they can participate. So tonight we're going to be talking with Jim Warden, and we are down one interviewer tonight. Glenn is not going to be here, so let me get everybody in here. We've got Will Gabri-El. Hey, Will, how's it going?
Hey.
And Mike Burkey, the other moderator. You guys have a good Christmas?
All well. Nice. All went well.
Nice.
You get everything you wanted?
Almost.
Yeah, sort of.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, my mom's watching, and she had me as the person, so I'm going to say I got everything I wanted this year. So,
Good answer.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, without any further ado, let me bring in our guest this evening, Jim Warden. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, Jim.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. This is very cool.
No, not a problem, man. We've been you were like high on the list back when we started doing these in May. And if we hadn't been emailing about Comic Art Live and whatnot, that was kind of like, I'm like, I got to ask Jim now. We got to get you on the show. So I'm glad you took the time tonight.
Oh, no, this is an honor, believe me. So I'm, just great. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Cox.
So, we start off every show kind of the same way. We do our kind of origin story. So you can start off what got you started in collecting comic art, or or comic books, when that kind of started and how that evolved into the person you are today in the hobby.
Okay, I try not to take too long. I guess Will can give me the hook if I start spending too much time on the background. But I guess the seed for me was planted back in the late 60s. My sister had bought me a couple of comic books when I had the mumps, like say 68, 69. And it was like a Spider-Man 60-something, and I think it was a Hulk somewhere in that same vintage. But I didn't really collect a lot more comic books at that time. But for some reason, like when I got into junior high, I started going to local 7-Elevens and buying the comics off the spinner racks, and just became addicted. It was just like a magic thing. It was either Tuesday or Wednesdays whenever the new comic books came out at the spinner racks, and I would show up there and plunk down I think it was $1 at the time for whatever the books were, and it was just a magic time in my life. So I started collecting comic books as far as like a collection to get back issues of the stuff that I had been reading, like the current, especially the Marvel stuff. I was definitely a Marvel zombie, and I started looking in the Washington Post classifieds and buying collections from people. And then my dad actually was starting to take me to some local comic book conventions in the DC area. We started out in the Jubilee conventions in the early 80s, I believe. At least that's when I started going. And it was great because it was unbelievable the comics you could get so much cheaper than cover price of the current comics. And I remember I started getting into realizing some of the artists in particular, like Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson. Those were and even though they weren't necessarily Marvel guys, I just, gravitated towards their art. And I still remember going through the bins of comics, like 5 for $1, and getting all the Neil Adams Batman and Rights and Swamp Things, except like #1, but I still hardly paid anything for that. But as I continued to build my comic collection, then I started getting duplicates, and I realized, well, maybe I could like sell some. So maybe it was first year of college, or maybe last year of high school, but whatever the time frame was, I started setting up a table, just a humble 6-foot table at these conventions. They were very similar to the Comic Art Con conventions that Joe runs, where it was like, say, a Holiday Inn ballroom or something, but just, a big square room, and it was like wall-to-wall comics, but they would have guest artists. It was I believe Gail Huey was the lady that ran Jubilee conventions. She had a sidekick, but that lady stayed in the background. So Gail was definitely my point of contact. And fate intervened. And at one of these conventions, Mike Zeck was the guest. And it just so happened my table was right near him. And it was a relatively slow show. So I just, Mike and I just started conversing. And we had so much stuff in common. We both, huge Miami Dolphin fans. Mike lived in West Haven, Connecticut at the time, but grew up, or at least spent a fair amount of his youth in Florida, and was a big Dolphin fan. So we had that in common, and turned out we liked the same movies and this and that. So this, I believe, was around 1986, 87, that general time frame. And we exchanged numbers, and it was before the internet or any kind of like cell phones and stuff. So just exchanged phone numbers and kept in touch. And as he would do some new art, different releases, I started becoming interested in buying some of his artwork. And I can't remember the first piece I bought of his, but I distinctly remember buying all of the Marvel Tales covers featuring the Punisher, with the exception of the first one. There was a guy in Florida that Will maybe remembers. His name is Bob Latimer.
Mm-hmm.
That name ring a bell? Maybe Mike.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Robert Latimer. People know Robert Latimer is the one that he owned all the Craven's Last Hunt. Every story was cover. Yeah.
But he was mainly a Kirby collector, Jack Kirby collector.
Yes. Yeah. But he kind of had dibs on like all of Mike's art at the time, So whatever reason, he didn't go for those Punisher reprints. So Mike let me buy those from him. And that was kind of like my first feelings in selling artwork, was selling some of those. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Mike let me buy them for like $50 a cover. And then I sold them for maybe $75 a cover, and think like, wow, I'm doing great, So just as a little bit of background, I'd sent Bill some pictures, I guess. Is it cool to flash those? Is it too early for that?
No, not at all. Which one did you want me to show?
You can do the wedding ones. That would be the big.
Got it.
Okay, because there should be two. Okay, so there's my wife Lynn. So folks that know me as an art dealer and buy artwork from me, Lynn is still the D.O.A. postal person. So you have her to thank for shipping all the packages out to you. I prepare them, but she ships them all. So you've got me there, and then Mike is to my left, I guess, but my right side of the screen. And then the other two folks, it's Bill Walton and his father, and Bradley Walton. They're friends that had come also in town for our wedding. But Mike drove all the way down from West Haven and stayed with me. And my wife and I had just bought our first humble home, and Mike was the first guest there. So it was just truly a magic time. So just I love seeing that. So then this is a picture of our wedding reception. It was like a gag gift. I bought these Batman watches. So, Mike got one and I got one. So it's kind of like our Batman and Robin pose, where we're synchronizing our bat watches. So that's enough.
How long did you know each other before you became that friendly? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably just a couple of years. I mean,
wow.
It's like we just bonded at the show, it seemed like. And for him to give me his home phone number from just meeting me at the convention, I thought was quite an honor. But and then we had so much in common. We literally would talk on the phone. I would, honestly, not exaggerating, probably like, once a week or so. And
that's awesome.
It was just so cool, hearing the new stuff he was doing. So.
And that would have been what year roughly when you were married?
Oh, I know that year. I was married in '89.
Better.
What year is that?
I was married 1989.
Okay, yeah. So think about it. That's 2 years after Craven's Last Hunt and stuff. So like,
Yeah.
you know, he's like that's like a big deal back then.
It was,
Yeah.
and see, I wanted.
That's right when the Batman movie came out.
Oh, was it that?
89. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize the Batman movie was right in there too, but I distinctly remember Craven's Last Hunt, and I was not able to get any of the artwork from that because Bob bought everything.
Right.
And that was like my concern is like, since he had dibs on everything, I wasn't sure what I could get. So just to give another piece that means a lot to me for my collection, if you could show that graffiti, you know, yeah. Mike didn't even tell me that he included me on this. He just sent me an envelope in the mail with like an 11 by 17 Xerox of this, you know, full-size copy of this original. And it was just arrived at in my parents' house. I was still living at home at the time. And he just said, I thought you might like to see this. That was like the note. And then I started looking at all the names and stuff, and I'm following around. I see like Archie Goodwin on there and like all these comic creators I know. And I'm going over, like going from say left to right. And I get to the top and I see like Phil Zimmelman's name there in the flower. And then I look by the Punisher's elbow and there it says Jim Warden. I mean, I just screamed, just like, you know, oh my God, you know, and just, I ran to the phone. I called Mike up and I'm like, please sell me this original, Mike. I said, I can't believe you did this, you know, that you put me in there. And I got first and last name too, you know, one of the very few first and last, you know. So he graciously said, yeah, that's yours. And I think at the time his artwork had gone up to a whole like $200 for something of that quality. It was definitely no more than $200 for that.
Wow.
And you know, that's one I'm definitely intending to take to my grave with me. And I just still, you know, Mike's done so much for me, but I mean, that was just like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see what he put at the very, very bottom right of there?
We see it, Mike.
Oh, of course.
He even got the signature like exact.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Jazz Armida next to his name, of course.
Lot of bullpenners. Grunwald, Milgram.
Yeah. Archie Goodwin's, you know, little characters in there on the other side, and Michael Fleischer. Yeah,
he must have been a fan. Is that by his right bicep, John Candy?
What now? Oh, no. Wait, it's right.
It says John Andy.
John Andy.
John Andy, yeah.
Oh, that's a guy's name? Okay, I didn't know if the C was covered.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, the only like celebrity type person on there, if you look right above where you were saying, it says Zablo and Sly.
Yeah.
Good buddy of Mike's, who I don't believe I've ever met, but I believe his name is Craig Zablo, but he's like the world's largest Sylvester Stallone fan. So
wow.
Stallone. He's been that, I mean, obviously forever, because this is like, you know, going on 35 years old, this piece here. So, but anyway, that is, to the best of my knowledge, like the only celebrity. Like everybody else is either like a family member of Mike's or
a coworker.
So this was done around 1990?
Yeah, it was the inside back cover of Marvel Fanfare 49, I believe.
Wow, so it was published. I didn't even know that.
Hey Jim, I think I caught something here. Right above the Punisher's hit, Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, that's crazy. All these years I stared at that. It never ended. Yep, I think you're right. So there you go.
Or there could have been a Bruce and a Stan Lee. Bruce Patterson and Stan Lee. I'm just joking. That's probably Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. So there's two celebrities, and actually, if you look to the left below my name, you'll see
Bill
Frederick is like obscure. That would be Frederick Manzano, I believe, from Edition DS in France.
Okay.
He's a good buddy of Mike's, and Latimer is underneath that, but his name is obscured by the machine gun strap. So
I see that. Yeah, the Latimer, right.
They're with two different line thicknesses, so they're not related. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. So. But
very cool.
I just couldn't believe Mike put me in there in like big bubbly letters. That is just
that's very cool. You've been made part of Marvel history.
Yeah, and like I said, it's the inside. It's the all pinup issue of Marvel Fanfare, which I believe is issue 49.
Wow!
But they also made it into a poster. One of those Marvel posters. Phil Zimmelman airbrushed that. I actually had that on my wall at our previous house for several years, and Chuck Costas, I believe, talked me out of it. It was just.
Oh no!
Mike didn't, put his hands on that. You know, it was all Zimmelman airbrush, and I'm pretty sure that it was a monstrous blue line. But this piece here is all Mike. And then I've got it on the floor behind me. I'm not going to jump up and grab it, but I do have Mike's hand-colored blue lines of it as well.
Ah, cool.
I see an inset with my buddy Gary Pfeiffer saying cool. So give a big shout out to him, because he and another dear friend, Bill Roberge, did my very first Zoom chat like 3 weeks ago to get me prepped for this. I've never done anything like this before in my life. And so
That is very cool.
You're natural. You're used to talking to people at shows. You're fine, Jim. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. I'm telling you, man, if it was just like a auditorium with people, I'd be like passed out. I couldn't deal with it. This is great. And just seeing you guys, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. We haven't actually seen each other in a while. I don't know.
It's
but used to seeing you a few times a year.
Yeah, twice.
2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to doing those again.
And used to be more. Well, we got 3 next year, so.
Well, buddy, I don't know, man. I'm in that age group, and it's like trying to from Maryland to Jersey.
I'm at the beginnings of that age group, and I'll tell you, Jim, I felt very safe. There are a lot of precautions taken, and obviously nothing happened. Now, I did walk in with an N95 and a face shield, and then I, carrying everything in, I could not breathe, so I did change to just a filtered cloth mask and kind of kept my but it was good. It was really.
Yeah, everybody had to have Clorox wipes after they touched your art, I heard. Yeah.
Anyway. I'll leave that right there. I'll leave
Safe than sorry. Safe than sorry. That's all right.
So 89. Had you started D.O.A. yet?
No. And this, I guess I'll continue with the Jim Warden origin story.
Yeah, please.
Getting into the arts business. Basically, it was like me selling comic books at conventions and then supplementing that with a little bit of Mike's X art. And I was at that time becoming more and more a collector of stuff and love John Byrne's artwork. So Mike
I feel you on that.
Mike and John lived relatively close to each other in Connecticut, and there was an opportunity that presented itself, one of my visits to Mike's, to visit John Byrne at his house. So I was just like, oh my God, of course, and the funny thing was, like, a couple years prior to this, my then fiancés, before Lynn and I even got married, I took our first major road trip before GPSs and stuff, like just maps. We went to Mansfield, Ohio, to the Mid-Ohio Con when it was like at the airplane hangar, before we even did it in Columbus, and just for me to meet John Byrne and get an autograph. I swear, man, I was waiting in line, 100 people, well, 50 people deep probably, just to get his autograph. And Lynn probably thought I was nuts. I can't believe she stuck with me all these years, like the stuff that we went through. And I mean, that trip was just a total nightmare because we'd never driven out of state.
Now that would have been what year, like 92 or 91 or when?
John did so many of those shows. Now I think it was earlier because
it had to be earlier.
Yeah, definitely was earlier. Because I'm saying, like around 90, 91 is when Mike introduced me to John in person. What I'm saying is like 2 years prior to that.
Oh, even before that. Okay.
I drove all the way to Ohio just to get his autograph,
Wow.
And, just nuts. So anyhow.
Yeah, he went to that show a few times. I went to the Mansfield show probably 4 or 5 times between 84 and 90. And I remember seeing him there. Yeah. So, but I never waited in line to get his signature though.
I can't remember what I got signed, but whatever it was worth it. And I remember just like beaming, I got John Byrne's autograph on something. So flash forward, a couple of years, I'm visiting Mike. I guess another thing I should say is like just great thank you to Mike. When Lynn and I got married, we took like a driving honeymoon and went up to like Niagara Falls. We had no money, so we just bought our first house. I mean, literally had like less than $500 in the bank. Sure of that. But we were able to stay overnight like at Niagara Falls at a cheap place. And then Mike put us up at his house in West Haven for, I think it was a week, just for us to unwind. And I mean, it just wow, just nice. Can't say enough good things about him. And all
really nice. Yeah.
So, obviously we stayed in touch, and as time went on, and I was selling some of his artwork at the local shows along with my comic books, I just became more and more enamored with the art. And, partially just because it's lazy, man. It's like, it's hard schlepping around, 40 long boxes of comics to set up, it just,
Learned that in college. Said, nope, not doing this.
yeah. And it's like, I just gradually became more and more interested in the art, and then meeting more of the artists at these conventions, and then Mike opened the door and got me to invite at John's house. So somehow I show up at John Byrne's house, and this was when he lived in Fairfield, and he had this like Civil War vintage mansion. It was I believe the people that sold the sewing machine patent to the Singer Company. I believe that's the story behind it. But anyhow, it's just like this 4-story, basement, 3 levels up, wood, 12-foot ceilings, just crazy, huge kind of mansion. And we go up, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never even been in a house like this, and John opens the door, and I'm like, oh my God, here's John Byrne, and me and Mike. So, John gives us a grand tour of his place, and then his studio at the time was on the 3rd floor, and no air conditioning in the house. I think he had a window unit, but he didn't even use it a lot of times. But anyhow, we trudge up there, and he's showing, some of his art collection, which was amazing. He didn't really have much of his own at the time, though. He actually did have the 6 Man of Steel covers that he did on his wall. I think he was pleased with those, and we did sell those, obviously, but at the time he had those on his wall. He had the FF 232 cover, and honestly, I can't remember any more of his own artwork. He might have had some more, but I didn't take pictures of everything. But that was what was on his walls. But his hoard of just loose pages. Bill, if you want to flip to that first, like John Byrne, literally like a door. It was like a crevice in the wall that had like these doors that covered it, so it opened up to reveal like a closet, basically. And it was like these stacks of artwork there, and I was just, oh my God, and honestly, I don't think I even bought anything. Bill Robert's just clicked in. But honestly, I think I had to have bought something, but I can't remember what it was, honestly. I just remember just being overwhelmed by all this artwork, and somehow I had the courage and whatever to say, John, you need someone to organize this for you, because it was just helter-skelter, as you can see. And John, I'll never forget, he's like, I've been looking for someone kind enough to do that for years. And John, I am your man. So this visit was like in late summer, because I had to have been taking the trip like during a summer break from work to visit Mike, and then Mike took me to John's.
So this was early 90s?
Yeah, it was definitely. I can tell you exactly when this was, because it was John. Actually, I made arrangements to come back up to Connecticut and stay with John at his house while I did the inventory. And I was there 2 nights, and the World Series between the Braves and the Twins was on TV.
That's 91, I believe.
John, it was 91, and John was married at the time to Andrea, and she and I stayed up and watched the World Series at least one of the nights. John's not a sports fan. Okay. He just was like off somewhere else. But that is a thing that puts this, precise timestamp. I distinctly remember Andrea and I watching that particular World Series, at least one of the games, and me doing the artwork inventory. So it's funny there, if you look at the floor, basically, those are shingles, because the top level of his house, at least that room, was built on
on top of the house.
The roof below.
Wow.
So literally, you could just imagine the temperature extremes and everything that got into that room, because it wasn't that greatly insulated. But artwork, it held up. But
so his house was really shingled with pages of art.
It was that day. But the little hollow space there is where I was sitting cross-legged, like literally surrounded by artwork, and just sorting everything. Issue by issue, and yeah, even looking at that, that's just like obviously all Superman stuff. And there's like an Action Comics splasher with a Spectre you can see at the top. And,
Oh yeah.
so,
So that was a complete book, because I think I ended up buying that book off of you a few years later. Yeah,
you bought a lot of stuff from me. Will, you had
I certainly did. I owe much of my collection to you, Jim. Absolutely. Hey, so real quick.
yeah.
When I first met you, which I think was at the Javits Center, when it was either like one of the very last Greenberg shows or one of the very first Carbonaro shows.
Okay.
And I think it was in the basement.
Yeah.
But that's where I first met you.
Okay.
I don't even know if I introduced myself or, I mean, I was like wet behind the ears. I think I took your card and I contacted you like a couple weeks later because I just noticed all this John Byrne art, and I had blown my grand budget of maybe $500 for that day. But that had to be, 1992 or very late 91. So I thought you had been dealing in John's art for a few years, and you were freshly minted.
Freshly minted.
Yeah.
It probably was late 91 because that would, be perfect time frame again because, that World Series. And then, I did the inventory then. And when I completed the inventory, I somehow worked up the courage or whatever to ask John, this is what it looked like when I was done. I put it all in these, big yellow envelopes, issue and page, or all the issue numbers. I didn't even have like all the page numbers or anything. It was just like title and issue. So
that's the famous manila envelopes. I think I still have a couple in my closet somewhere.
That's what all that stuff. When I sold the complete books, generally that's how I did it. Just like that. But anyhow, I when I wrapped up that weekend at John's, I had somehow got the courage to say, I'd be honored to help you market this if you'd like someone to, sell some of the stuff for you. And John literally just went off to an adjoining room, got an old portfolio, and says, "Here, take what you want." Oh my God. So that could have been like, really, we could have met at the very first convention that I even had John's art at. Because,
wow.
I mean, obviously I gravitated towards, the splashier stuff and the covers. I don't think I brought like any complete books or anything with me.
I don't think you did.
But I definitely had, a bunch of like the single image stuff. Because I really wanted to make a big impression on John, like sell a bunch of stuff and then, get the ball rolling and go on. And I mean, it obviously worked. And I still I pinch myself. I just can't believe I still have to wake up and just like, this can't, some kid from Southern Maryland is like John Byrne's art deal. That's just nuts. But that's the history of it. And
wow,
it caught me early on. And the thing where it really hit home was, again, John must have really taken to me from the start because unbeknownst to me, he was doing John Byrne's Next Men soon thereafter this all happened. And he had like total control of that book. And in his letter pages, I think it was around issue 5 or 6, he put a little blurb for original art, contact Jim Warden, and then had my PO.
I remember that.
And had my phone number, my home phone number. And my wife and I were like asleep in bed, 6 o'clock in the morning. And the phone beside us, it rings. I'm like, what? And it's like some dude from, Europe. And he's like, broken English, I'm calling about the John Byrne art. And I'm like, what? You call me 6 o'clock in the morning? I had no idea. John didn't tell me that he did this or anything. And I was like, oh my God. And Lynn's like, who's that? I was like, it's some dude from Europe wants to buy artwork from me. I was like, what? There's probably some expletives and stuff, thrown in there. But when that happened, then it became real. It might have even been Ilko. I don't know. I can't. But he was definitely.
I think that was a little early for Ilko.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he was definitely on board early as well, and made the trip to one of those Mid-Ohio cons.
Yeah, mid 90s I think would have been Ilko.
Okay. So
or even maybe middle 90s.
Okay. But when that happened, I'm like, I'm really onto something here now, for people to be calling me like that. And, it's taken on a life of its own. I never would have dreamed that it would have, lasted as long as it has and then gotten as big as it has really.
And Jim, you're an enabler because when I met you, I was in college, right? I did not have a big budget or anything. And I remember driving to your, I guess it was your first house. It was like in a development.
Yep, that was the first one.
Yeah, and I remember coming there at least twice, or maybe just twice. And I'm saying you're an enabler because I would take a pile that I couldn't afford all this, but I can give you this much down, and then every month send you something. And lo and behold, what was funny was every time I got the pile almost down to zero, you'd say, "Hey, I got some more art from John. You want it?" So oh yeah. So put those things in, and okay, it starts all over. So that went on for, I don't know, at least a few years.
Yeah.
But you were always really generous about it, and you know, I just kept buying. It was great stuff. I bought as much as I could.
You were a wise man, and I wish I had the foresight to have kept more than what I did. I mean, I'm not complaining by any stretch, but when I see some of the stuff that I sold for, you know, $150 or $200, whatever, back in the day, or even, you know, a lot of the stuff you bought, you just love the Fantastic Four in particular, and just bought so much of that, and it didn't matter what was on the page. You just wanted anything, you know.
Certain issues, it did not matter.
It didn't matter at all.
Just
Right.
wanted. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Obviously now, you know, the most humble page from any of those early issues is like eye-opening, like what the stuff goes for.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you can't, I mean, I can't, you know, lose sleep over that, because I've been so blessed just with life as it is, and just so grateful for what, you know, what I do have and everything. But every once in a while, it's like, man, in particular, I wish I hadn't sold that X-Men 135 cover, because I'm pretty sure.
The 136, yeah.
Okay.
That broke the budget for me. I mean, that was the biggest purchase I had made at that time, and I mean, that was it. I don't even think. Did you own it? You had to get it from somebody.
No, actually, yeah, that was not from John, because that was another thing. Just as to go back to the inventory, John had sold, I think, all but like just a couple of the X-Men pages, and like there was no Captain America, no.
Yeah, there was either very little, or like the worst couple pages might have been left.
Yeah,
relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking. I mean, now it's just like amazing, but still.
Yeah.
And with the only asterisk being, he had sent his parents, you know, like one page per issue for some of his earlier stuff.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Sent those back to him, like early 2000s, I believe, you know, but at some point, and then
mid well, if it was 136, would have been the late 90s. Okay.
No, these were just a handful of pages. I'm sorry for going off on a tangent, but no, he didn't have any. He sold all the covers. And that cover wound up with a collector down south and in Virginia, Southern Virginia. But I drove down there and purchased the cover from that person, and, you know, had it. But, you know, at the point, I mean, at that time, it's like, I guess you're saying your memory is much better than mine. I just remember I had the cover. I thought I had it longer than what it sounds like, but I
don't think you had it very long. I remember driving down there. It might have been my senior year in college, and we agreed upon a price. I think it was. I think we can say it at this point. It was either $7,500 or $8,000, which at the time, I mean, now it sounds like nothing compared to what these things go for.
Right.
But put that in the frame of the earlier middle 1990s. Byrne X-Men covers were thought to be $2,500 to $3,000, so $7,500. But that was one of the most important. So, I remember driving down there, and the last time I had driven down there, maybe earlier that year, you did not have it. So maybe you had it for a few months, but I don't think you had it longer than that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think I ended up giving you something like $7,000 of cash and an X-Men page back. You were like, when it was time to let it go, you were like, all right, we're going to do the deal. But your fingers got real grippy at that point. Like, you did not want to let that cover go. And I remember I traded you back the page with the close-up on Magneto's eyes and then all the little panels of the X-Men captured, which was, X-Men 114 last page?
Yeah. Huh.
Something like this. So that was, but I mean, that was a time where I think you were purchasing land for your.
No, No, actually, the land I have you to thank. Well, either thank or blame, but my comic books paid for the land, and
Okay.
you hooked me up with Robert Rogovin at Four Color from New York, and he made the trip down and decimated my comic book collection, and literally took everything. And it's like I had so many books. He couldn't fit them all in his van, and he just like went through. Because I had like literally every single Marvel comic from 1 through say 2 to 300, depending on what.
Oh, wow, I didn't know you had that many. Yeah.
And he wasn't even interested in like the ones after like 150. And it was just like I remember him just like because I had like especially the early ones like these binders and stuff with these like miler things that fit into like a 3-ring binder kind of thing. But he was just like taking those out. He didn't even want the binders. He was just opening them up, and throwing them in his van. I was like, oh my God. But that paid for our initial land. So
Okay.
those comics paid for, several acres of land in Maryland. And then that set for 5 years approximately. So that's why I was wondering, my recollection was that X-Men cover paid for the roof of our current house.
Maybe it was towards the home.
It was definitely towards the
because it was the X-Men cover. There was an FF cover. There was the X-Men. FF double spread.
Oh, yeah. That one kills me.
And maybe one other piece, but I remember I saved, I sold things, I hustled, and then I still had to hit like Discover card and like max out and take a cash advance and pay incredibly bad interest rates on it. But it was, I was like, you don't see this stuff.
No.
You don't,
No, it was like, wow. But so again, I'm not complaining at all, but it's just like, if I could have just kept that X-Men cover, man, I would have probably been retired from the government now. I wouldn't have to keep working.
Well, me too. I ended up selling it cash trading it years later. Yeah. So I'm not complaining either, but.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that's what year?
Well, my recollection, when we had a house built in 99. So does that sound right to you?
I thought it was earlier than that. Yeah. I thought it was like 90.
Could be 97, perhaps?
Okay, 97. I was going to say 96 or 7.
Oh, okay, then it had to be 97 because we had we still had our house in the development, and then we did a construction loan and was preparing the new house being built. And I just remember that cover and I guess the double page spread from FF 247 with Dr. Doom paid for a decent chunk of whatever Bill was due at the time.
I got to thank you though, Jim, because you just said Bill was due, and I started to say Bill, Jim, because I very begrudgingly and painfully had to sell FF 247 when I went into a really rough patch financially, and I did well with it, but yeah, I really didn't want to sell it. And then the craziest thing was it went to Europe, and I sent it, and I just had so much going on at the time. This is like the only time I ever screwed up with a package. I sent it without insurance.
Oh no. And
it was over a weekend. So for like 5 days, I'm like, because if it got lost or damaged, that was literally my ass in every sense of the word. And luckily it got there, it was fine. But I was like, I cannot believe I sent that without insurance. Wrapped well, but so
wow.
But
oh, go ahead.
No, we had a couple of pictures I think I forgot to show. When you did the inventory, didn't you get something from John?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, he did something for you, huh?
Flash, the first one, I guess, is the Wolverine. So that was on my feed. John, our agreement was, and it pretty much has always been, I get artwork in commission for selling his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to pick one piece of everything that he had. And so that was what I picked. And
I remember that when you got that in. I think I came over shortly after you got that in. It was at your new house. You had just moved into your new house, or shortly after.
Okay.
You still own that?
No, actually, I had to part with that. There was some life expense came up, and I won't mention names or anything, but I got what I still feel is a very good price for it. But that's actually been in Heritage. And it was flipped in Heritage, and this is one thing I was just curious, like what you folks think. If I don't, oh, that's right. I sent Bill a photograph of the original artwork and it was blurry, so he couldn't use this. So I pulled this from Heritage's archives and put it up. But that stat, I mean, or whatever, all the logo of the dress, and even
Put on later.
Yeah, yeah, and what's in the corner in the box, the Spider-Man head in the box,
Yeah,
was not on the original
Nope.
art because John had written, you know, a personalization. I think he wrote something like "Never Say Never Again" because that was like
The James Bond movie.
No. It was I think he had at one point basically said he was never going to go back and draw Wolverine.
draw the X-Men. Yeah.
Oh,
So, and then this
Yeah,
was
Never
his
Say
first
Never Again. Yeah.
of when he did the Wolverine series with Archie Goodwin. I suspect it was probably something to do with Archie Goodwin, you know, being such a great person and John's respect for him that maybe, you know, put him over the edge to agree to even do the title. But that was the first cover when he did that.
yeah. He did 6. Did he do 17 to 23 was his run?
Yes. And it was like Klaus Janson Inc. 17 through 22, and then John Inc. 23. And
Oh, okay.
so,
You know, it's weird that back in the day, I owned a ton of pages to that 6-issue run back in the day. I don't know if I ever got many from you or not, but I had a bunch way back in the day.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Jansen probably sold his share. If you had anything from 23, you would have gotten that from me because when you know, I was
No,
definitely.
I had the earliest. I remember having pages from 17, 18, 19. I had the splashes to all of them and stuff back in the day.
Jim, you were asking us something though. You said you wanted to.
Yeah. What are your thoughts like when folks, you know, get the artwork and then do like the you know, the stats and, you know, stuff like that? They put it on the original.
I'll tell you, my thought is I don't particularly care for it. For many years, I never added a logo or anything like that. Oh, I take that back. Early on, I was adding word balloons that I created myself, but I very meticulously created them. I think they're very well done. Anyway, I'm not a fan of doing that. On the other hand, as a seller, as you know, as Mike knows, it makes it more eye appealing to many buyers and it makes it easier to sell. So if you're selling the piece, it's probably a smart move as long as it's done fairly well. If you're keeping the piece, that's your personal decision. I have pieces that I've owned for 25 or 30 years. I've never bothered adding the logo. It's missing a word balloon. I don't really care.
Right.
You know, it is what it is. It's one of a kind. Love it or leave it.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about this hobby, that it is one of a kind. And I guess, you know, it's subjective as to what every collector's viewpoint, you know, you can vary. I mean, for me personally, I shy away from any kind of alteration or restoration or anything like that. And definitely like something like this, I mean, it looks good, like you said, but just me knowing that it wasn't there when I sold it. And
I remember seeing it definitely was not there. And I remember the personalization because I think I chuckled when you never say never. Yeah,
definitely. It said "Never Say Never Again" in reference to him returning to the title. But so anyhow, that was my first commission from John. Just sorry here.
There it is.
A couple of things I would show. So this is like something nobody's ever seen. So I would. So John did this for me.
Hold it. Move it to your left, which might mean okay. Now we can see it.
So.
Oh man, we got Joe Lee tuning in here. I don't think he's ever tuned in before, or at least commented.
What, did he redo that one?
Pardon me?
Is that art? Is that recreated?
Oh no, that is a John Byrne hand-done recreation, the logo and everything at the top. So, you know, he knew I had to sell that piece, and you know, knew how much it hurt me. So he agreed to do this for me.
Nice.
This will never leave my possession.
So he recreated it for you. That's awesome.
Hey, Bill, if you don't mind, can you go up about 10 comments to Fred? My buddy Fred, I just want to address it. The words "doing well with" when selling off a beloved page just doesn't seem to. Yeah, that's a comment he would make.
Oh my God,
Fred, my feeling is if you're going to sell something you love, I mean, you don't want to fire sell it. You want to sell it for as much as you can get for it. I mean, if you love it, and you don't want to give it away. That's for sure.
Right. I gotta humbly apologize to everybody, and Bill, because Bill was so patient with me last night, coaching me through this, and I completely had a brain fart and did not turn my comments on, and I'm just like humbled by all these comments. So my God, Gary, Bill Roberts, Nick Barucci, Nick, wow, thanks, and Mike Chichi, my good buddy in Jersey. So just Fred Chamberlain, I couldn't believe all these people that I know.
Oh, you've been seeing them when Bill pops them up in the. Okay, you haven't been seeing them on the side. I thought you'd been seeing them because you've been commenting on them. So
I just heard somebody mention a person's name, but I didn't have the comments on. So
don't sweat it, because we've sometimes forgot to click on them.
Yeah.
We've been here before, so.
Okay. I'm just a complete rookie at this. This is my first time.
And I'll go, and also, I don't know if you'll find this one, Bill. Encore says, Will, next time bring some art, I guess, to Comic Art Con. And I'll just say I was doing the show, I was exhibiting COVID style. Safely COVID style meant fewer pieces of art.
Hey, Jim, I always wondered, what did D.O.A. stand for, other than it's not Dead on Arrival? It has some other acronym, I'm guessing?
It's distinctive original artwork.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember what it stood for.
And I can tell you, I mean, it's not like I'm into like,
D.O.A.
word puzzles and stuff, but I distinctly remember this as well. When I was selling, Mike's stuff early on, and then when this thing hit with John, and I had to come up with something, that related to it. So. And then, Mike, thank you so much. This is like a perfect segue into like one of the things that Bill and I had behind the scenes going on. So anyhow, my wife and I I can't remember if we were married at the time or not, but Lynn and I were on our way to a comic convention where I was setting up at, and it was just like I was racking my brain, like what can I come up with, and I have no idea. It was just like it hit me like D.O.A. Dead on Arrival, distinctive original artwork. It's like bam. So I was like, hold that thought. And I remember coming home that night, calling Mike Zeck and saying, Mike, I got this great idea for my business name, distinctive original artwork, D.O.A. Can you do me a Punisher business card so I can give it out to people? So I guess if Bill, oh my God.
I remember that one. Yeah.
It was a black business card. I remember, sure.
I mean, is that like just a killer Punisher? I mean, that is just amazing. So
yeah.
When this interview wraps up, maybe not tonight, but tomorrow, I've already got like a gallery started on CAF, but I didn't want to like put it live until after my interview. But one of the things for longtime customers of mine, remember like the D.O.A. business cards, and like this was the first one, and John did the second. So I guess Bill, if you want,
and the card is by Zeck, the Punisher. Somebody asked, was it by Byrne?
Oh, no, that was Mike Zeck Punisher.
Yeah, this is by Byrne.
How can a true art collector even ask that question? But yeah, and there's a neat story about this card, because I originally, if anybody has read the Next Men, Bethany Hardbody is more the darker character. Jasmine, this character is very vibrant, outgoing, whatever. I'd asked John to do a Hardbody card, and John actually did one. He wasn't happy with it, so he just said, here, use this. And then like on the bottom area, it's like, Jim had to do jazz, better image or better something. So I've got that that I'm going to load up in a CAF gallery. But it was like, as I became friends and, I worked with different artists in the 90s in particular, like Joe Madureira, I worked with him. I was like the first person to sell his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
His early, his X-Men stuff. So he did a business card for me of this character called Slayback that was a villain in Deadpool. And if you weren't like a customer of mine and got that Slayback card, you wouldn't have seen it. But it's killer. It's like pencil and ink by Joe, same motif, all my business cards to a certain point, where like the dark black background and the character, highlights in white.
You started repping him when you were still at your old house, I think, because I remember you showed me. You said, "What do you think of this?" You showed me a Madureira X-Men cover, and I was like, "That's not my thing, Jim."
And that's perfectly.
You knew.
Who knew? But talk about a prodigy. I mean, my God, Joe.
Yeah, but it was good. I said, "But it's good." But I don't know.
But I mean, to think like when I met him, I was introduced to him via it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it turned out there was a guy named Tony Mateus that was the Marvel art returns guy at the time. And he was in New York, obviously I'm in Maryland, but Tony was a big Byrne fan and was buying like She-Hulk pages and stuff from me. And he's like, we would talk on the phone, super, super nice guy. And he would say, Jim, I got this new kid in the bullpen. And you're not going to believe. It's like Joe Mad. And I was like, you should try to, work out something and sell his art. And he showed me this stuff. I'm like, damn, this, and it's like 16 years old when he was doing like Marvel Comics Present. I think he was like maybe 17 or 18 when he started doing X-Men. But
it's good.
Wow. Like, so anyhow, he did a D.O.A card for me and I sold his artwork basically until he left Marvel. And then when he went and did Battle Chasers, he didn't want to sell anything, which is perfectly cool. And we just kind of lost touch over the years. And then I believe Quan is, Joe doesn't sell much, but what he does sell, it's through Quan, was
today,
yeah, because I'm just so grateful, having met these people when I did, and I never had the mindset of like trying to rep like the entire world. It's just like if I like the stuff myself, I was interested in approaching the artist and trying to work with them. And then it was always kind of like I get artwork and commissioned for selling artwork just to build my collection. Because I've always had my government job as, pay the bills, but my government job even then or now or whenever couldn't afford my art habit. But if I worked with the artist and sold their artwork, they got the money, they get all the money, but it's like I get the artwork. So it just works out, I think, great for everybody. And that was my, as Gary Pfeiffer would say, my business model for years, it's just like, and that's how I built my collection.
So Jim, just tell everyone, if you don't mind, what kind of civil servant you are, what branch of the government, and then my follow-up is, could you cover? I know most, but probably not all. Could you tell everyone, share with everyone, all the artists that you've repped over the years?
All right. Well, first question is the easy one. That's I'm a survey statistician for the Census Bureau, and no, I don't count people. I've been there 32 years now, in my 33rd year, and I work in an area where we do business statistics. So the area I work in there's this monstrous database. It's kind of like the Will Gabri-El of business information, where you're the database for all original art stuff, at least all the stuff you've dealt with. But for me, at the Census Bureau, there's this thing called the Business Register, which is basically a huge database with all of the known business locations in the United States. Everything is in there. And, the people that work on the area that I do, our job is basically to, find errors, and there's just like keep track of like when companies merge and things get sold, companies go out of business, and, it's just making corrections basically to data that comes in. Because sometimes like a company might fill out a form wrong and say maybe it's like a fast food restaurant has 20 employees and they put 200 employees or 2,000 employees, and just as an example. So it's catching errors like that and then fixing them. So anyhow, enough of the government crap. But the
no, hey, that's essential.
Nah, well,
needed.
That's subjective. I'm grateful because it, but the world will go on if I left or my position disappeared. But I need to do that a couple more years probably. So I don't want it to go away just yet. But as far as the artist, honest to God, I'll say as far as like who I rep, now it's kind of like. It's John Byrne, Matt Wagner, and I guess you could say Salvador LaRocca, even though he's not done any hand-drawn artwork for probably 12 years or so since he left Invincible Iron Man. But I have worked with a lot of other artists over the years, and again, it's more ones that I just were fans of myself. Like so, and then so many of the artists I've dealt with have been so gracious to introduce me to others. So, like for example, John Byrne put me in touch with Paul Chadwick. I absolutely love Paul Chadwick's concrete, and my wife enjoys his stuff too, or at least did back in the day. So I worked with him for a time. I got a concrete business card, which I'll be posting up. I worked briefly with Mike Grell, but I wouldn't say I'm his rep. It's just like I have I know him and I've sold artwork for him in the past, and we're talking 15 years ago for Mike Grell, for example. But then there was, some people that, approached me even, like Carlos Pacheco back at, I believe, at one of the San Diego conventions when I was there. Just, approached me at my booth and just said, you sell John Byrne's art, but it's good enough for me. Would you want to work with me? And I'm like, honest to God, I didn't know who he was at the time, but I'm like, I'm honored, and his stuff was terrific. So I worked with him for several years. Very briefly, John Toddleman. I have a Swamp Thing business card that he did. Not many people know it, but I mean, there was a time where I sold his some of his Miracle Man artwork and some of real incredible stuff he did for Eclipse with Alan Moore. I sold a fair number of those. Let's see, I worked with Alan. I definitely wasn't repping him, but I knew Alan Davis and sold some of his artwork. Huge fan of his, but actually it's probably easier. I got like a stack of business cards here. Mike Zeck, John Byrne, Joe Madureira, Carlos Pacheco, Mike Grell, Jason Pearson. I worked with him for a bit.
Did you work with Steve Rude?
I did, yeah. And actually, Steve was funny because I got a Nexus piece from him to use as a business card, but he never actually did me like a special piece, like a D.O.A. business card. And then Tim Truman was another one that I definitely worked closely with him for a good number of years, and I was the primary source of like the Grimjack artwork when he parted with that, and that's how I was able to get the first issue. He was selling all that Grimjack stuff when his son was going, I believe, to art school, and I was like, I want Grimjack 1. So I got the cover, and then I got all the interior pages, and then I think Roger Clark bought a bunch of other Grimjack art from me, but there was other folks as well. And then Tim was, I'd see him every year at the Baltimore Con, when there were Baltimore Cons, but it was like it was great seeing him, and it's like, hey Jim, great to see you, this and that. But anyhow, there's probably more, and I do apologize if I forget anybody, but it was like as far as me repping, I would say it's John. I mean, and Mike obviously got me started, but he went to do a lot of licensing work that really wasn't published stuff, and then it became very manageable for him to market his own stuff. So we're still friends. I mean, my God, I mean, always be friends, but it's like I don't sell his art per se now. There's no reason to. And like I guess same thing with Rude. Like his wife is able to easily manage his artwork and stuff. So
yeah,
and I'm perfectly cool with that. I think there's never been an instance where someone, and I honestly don't believe I parted. When we just kind of gone our separate ways, was ever any animosity or anything. It was just
Jim, Nick Barucci said 4 of the nicest guys in the hobby right here, but honestly, you are really one of the nicest guys in the hobby. So I cannot imagine a drop of animosity coming your way or vice versa, unless somebody is just, off in left field.
Well, I mean, what can I say? I'm so humble. Thank you so much for that.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
I mean, honest to God, I try to be as fair as I possibly can. And I remember and will always remember my beginnings. And even now, I can't afford, and honestly wouldn't even want to acquire some of the stuff that I would cherish or things that would be like my holy grail. I'm seeing that Vincent interview where he's going through the Metropolis, and the piece that kind of breaks my heart is that Swamp Thing 9 cover, because I almost had that, and that would have been one that maybe I would have kept. But honestly, it's probably worth so much now. I couldn't justify. I can't justify having a piece of artwork that's worth more than my house. I mean, that's just. I mean, for me personally. I mean, God bless you if you think whoever. And there's definitely collectors out there that I've been like.
Oh yeah.
In particular, the guy on the West Coast that at least when I had the honor of going to his place, I mean, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And this was like back in the 90s, like. Dude, like, he told me, he's like, I basically ate canned beans to be able to afford some of this stuff. And it's just like, You could sell one piece.
One piece and change your life.
One piece. And it's like, nope.
Yeah. Listen, everyone has a different tolerance. Everyone has different lifestyles. I would say you draw the line at when your lifestyle is suffering in some way. For example, if you have a hole in your roof and there is water coming in, you should probably sell some art. I'm being a little facetious, but I do know of one collector that was in that situation. I went to visit and I was like, wow. Wasn't trying to throw, shade, but I was like, just one piece.
Right. Right.
And stop the leakage.
Before the art gets damaged.
Yeah.
Well, there's that too. Like save 99% of it, sell 1% just to save the rest. You have to look at it that way.
Believe it or not, Will, that exact scenario happened. I had a fella who had he had Marvel Comics 1-Up, Action 1-Up, and he would buy art from me, and he literally had pots and pans in his house to cover leaks in the roof. And I go, fix the roof. No, he actually had a beard down to his chest. His teeth were falling out. I even said, he would take a bus to see me at my hospital to buy art for me. I go, seriously, fix your teeth. And he goes, no, I like the art more. And he would buy $30 pages of art in stacks for me. I go, fix your roof, fix your teeth. He goes, no. Believe it or not, I found out 2 years later, he passed away and they bulldozed his house.
Oh, man.
In downtown.
You have me laughing at this guy talking about fix your teeth, and the guy passed him. Come on.
And believe it or not, I found out years later he died. He got an infection from his teeth, and he passed.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the rumor is that and he had Action 1-Up, Marvel Comics 1-Up, and he had tons of Silver Age. He used to buy from Bill Failing. He had tons of Silver Age, Kurt Swan,
There's a name drop.
tons of stuff, and they believe they bulldozed his house into an empty lot with all that in it.
Oh, no.
So
Wow.
I almost stepped in a hole in a collector's dining room. I'm not going to say outdo you, but I almost stepped in a hole in his hardwood floor.
Wow.
Sell a piece of art.
yeah. Hey, I did want to say something about Jim. Jim, do you remember when we first met?
Wow.
Because I know the exact time, and we lead very similar lives in how we got in the hobby. I said, as you were telling your story, that's basically my exact story and everything, and just how I got to meet John Romita and things like that. But I met you. Now, I don't know that I'm almost ashamed to say it was either 92, 93. It was I first set up at a Mid-Ohio Con.
Oh,
And that's when I first met you.
Except no one has tied Burkey down. He's still quite the player. And
Yeah.
Jim, you've been happily married for many, many years.
Yeah. But I was engaged. I was engaged back in 2002, and John Romita was going to be in my wedding party, but she cheated on me right before the wedding, so we broke up. So thank God that didn't happen. So other than that, I would have been Jim Warden. So
Hey,
I didn't know that at that time, because then she would have divorced you and taken half your artwork.
I tell everybody, all my friends would go, "Are you sad?" I go, "Hell no." I go, "Thank God she cheated on me before the wedding versus after the wedding, or else I'd have been really screwed." So
Hey, like our friend Fred says, what a feel good. That's another feel good story, Bert.
I know. but anyway, Jim, I said our first recollection was meeting you at the Mid-Ohio Con in Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
And I remember John Byrne was set up there too.
Yeah.
And that's when I first met you. I met him before at the airport hangar, though, in Mid-Ohio Con, when he used to do drawings of She-Hulk and Wolverine. He'd hold it up. He goes, "How much for this?" And he'd start at 125, and everything would sell for like he'd do 14 by 17 pinups.
Wow.
And they would all sell for like 175 to 250, roughly. She-Hulk, Wolverine. But real quick, I remember I had a Hal Foster Tarzan prelim, and John Byrne wanted it really bad, and he walked you over to me, and he goes, "I want that." And he goes, "Let's work something out." And you traded me 2 Marvel Universe John Byrne, inked by Rubenstein, where all the characters are running, with the letters of the alphabet of their names. And you gave me 2 of those big ones, and I gave you he wanted the Foster prelim, and me and you negotiated a deal, and that was our first deal at the night. I believe it was that was at the 93 Mid-Ohio Con.
Wow. Those were such great memories. I apologize. I was just a schmo back then, and you were the man. No.
He was set up. Gee, this guy, I had a little 6-foot table. Nobody knew who I was. He set up right outside the main door like Jim Warden, D.O.A. He was the man.
I was there because John was there. There was
Yeah.
That was it. Period.
Hey, Jim. 3 months into you being a dealer, you had me convinced you'd been doing it for
No.
5 or more years. I mean,
like 10 years too, and here you it just started too. I mean, we started around the same time, but I assumed you were doing it for like a decade. I didn't know.
Yeah.
No, that was very, very early on.
Yeah. The good old days.
Era.
It's funny because like think of the time in the hobby and the years and everything, and
Yeah.
those Mid Ohio cons. I just want to give a quick shout. I don't think they're online or anything, but if you ever watch the interview, Robert Jewell and Benny Giello in particular.
Oh man,
we would do the road trips, and that was like our Thanksgiving, for several years. And some of the memories that we had of those trips, but to go out and from Maryland to Mid Ohio Con to hang out with John Byrne, have dinner,
Wow.
whatever. Just
Isn't that something?
the artwork. And then I distinctly remember, I don't remember the exact like when it was, but Benny at the time was the one who was really into collecting the artwork, and he was collecting Neil Adams stuff and John Byrne X-Men pages. And I remember giving him a hard time. It was like, what? And after the fact, like, who knew? And it's not like Benny years later, it's like, it was like picking up gold nuggets off the ground or something.
I bought my very first X-Men page from Benny. It was a Days of Future Past page where Wolverine gets incinerated.
Oh,
I
man.
paid a whopping $225 for that and got made fun of. Why are you paying so much? It's yellowed.
Right.
Because it was
Wow.
yellow.
Man, oh man.
So I ran into Benny, right? Now here's about 2 years ago. Rutgers University in Camden, beautiful Camden, New Jersey, which is not far from me.
Right.
Walt and Wheezy came to their show, this little show in their gymnasium. And, I'm talking with a comic book store owner friend of mine. And I look over, I'm like, oh, it's Walt Simonson. So I walk over just to say hi. And then I look next to me and it's Ben. I said, what the hell are you doing here? Yeah. So hadn't seen him in years.
Yeah.
And Robert Jewell is like, I definitely hadn't seen him in years.
Yeah, I honestly, it wasn't again animosity or anything. It was just like we kind of stopped doing the road trip shows, and then he had his career and just moved on. He still collects, but I did see him at the last Baltimore con I went to a couple years ago. I think he was there with Brian Stelfreeze, but it was just great catching up with him because
Sure.
we just had some just amazing road trips, and
Yeah.
it's funny, like, the friends that you meet along the way, and just that's to me one of the biggest blessings of this hobby is
Absolutely.
people you meet and the friends you make and the stuff that because now, like, when I do the comic art cons, Gary Pfeiffer is like my navigator, and it's just like, and we're like so similar. Each have 2 kids and been married about the same time, just about the same age. I'm like a couple years old or whatever, but yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. So there's my comic art con crew. Gary's the one with the black comic art con T-shirt. Bill Roberge, love you, man. He's up in New Hampshire, but he drives down and meets us. And there's me, and then my dear friend Scott Green is there. He's going to hate me.
And Scott, who will take you apart with the martial arts move.
Oh man, I've been blessed to have like some of the badassest dude in the hobby, because like back in the day it was Wayne Osborne, was my right hand man, like we did like the San Diego shows and stuff, and Wayne kind of dropped out of the hobby, but he definitely was and he's my son's godfather, for crying out loud, but just dearest friend. But Scott.
Hey Jim, I'm sorry, Bill, if you could share what I just put up.
Oh man, that is incredible! Thank you so much. I was dying to get one of those, and I couldn't find my own. But yeah, Wayne's the Incredible Hulk, Mitch Wilson.
That's a show I missed, and you guys sent that to me. Like, look what you're missing.
I believe that Hulk is actually a Dave Stevens Hulk drawing too. Believe it or not.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the truth. This is Wayne who no longer actively collects, but
Right.
still is a fan.
Yep.
Yeah, he was godfather to your children, right?
To Matthew.
Okay, to Matthew and Mitch, our friend Mitch, of course, that recently retired and likes to take Harley Davidson trips across the country.
Yeah, I just had a great conversation with Mitch about a month ago, and now he's like he's retired, like you said, from the Navy, but I guess it was just driving him nuts being sequestered with COVID. So he's actually a civil servant now, but working for the Navy as a contractor.
Ah, okay,
So,
okay.
triple dipper, man. Get his Navy.
Last I spoke with him, he told me he was still deciding. We text every now and then.
Yeah. No, this is relatively recent, I think, that he started the job. But
okay.
But yeah, man, what great memories. There's a Matt Wagner lightning bolt T-shirt on me.
That's
San Diego. Because I sent Bill a couple of photographs myself. I could not find any with Wayne and Mitch. So thank you so much for putting that up there.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to send it to you. Happy to send it to you.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Here's a couple.
So yeah, there's my celebrity, right? Jim Warden and D.O.A, but Kevin Smith, and he's a big Matt Wagner fan.
Without a hockey shirt on.
Yeah,
that's pre-hockey shirt, Kevin Smith.
This was pre-superstar Kevin. I believe this was when he did Chasing Amy. I'm not positive.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure this was a WonderCon, and Clerks had come out, Mallrats had come out, and I think he was starting to get a little bit of money and collecting a little bit of stuff, and he was a big Matt Wagner fan.
It looks like San Diego Comic-Con drapery.
Yeah, that's
it very well could be. I was thinking it was WonderCon, but I was looking at the badge, and actually if you look at that badge on my thigh, to me that looks like a WonderCon badge.
But same outfit puts both shows on.
Not then.
Oh, okay.
Not then?
No.
Okay.
This was around 97.
Okay. All right.
So,
man, look at the old credit card machine with the making the impression.
I still have that thing. I don't use it, but I still have it.
Let's hope not.
But yep. And I'm trying to think like who took these pictures, because I'm looking at that badge and I'm pretty sure that's a WonderCon badge.
Huh.
Okay.
But I'm thinking Eric De Los Santos was probably the photographer, either him or John Finucci. So
you could probably judge better by your Washington Cap shirt. You could probably figure out the year then.
Well, that's definitely old school Caps. They didn't start rocking the red until around 2010 or so.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, there's another.
Danzig.
Glenn.
Yep, Glenn Danzig back in the day, because I'm a big metal fan. Maybe not too many folks know that, but
some of us know that.
But yeah, it was like such a thrill to meet him. He it's not like we're buds or anything. It's like at one point I did have his phone number, and I think we talked on the phone maybe twice.
Yeah.
He bought for me some Rob Liefeld stuff and some Mike Klug stuff. But
he loves his horror art.
Yeah.
Loves his Kirby too, or used to at least.
What's that?
I said he loves his Kirby, or used to at least. He had quite a nice Kirby collection. I think some of it showed up in Heritage not that long ago.
Well, yeah, they definitely advertised that, and then the big one, I guess, that they promoted from his collection was that Frazetta cover in Heritage. Creepy number 4, right? The Dracula.
Yeah, that was his, I believe.
Yeah, they promoted it as his, so it's not like I'm spilling any beans. It was like in the catalog. It says from the collection of Glenn Danzig. I certainly did not know he had that. But, they promoted it. But yeah, that was definitely a thrill. On this, this is another one of my all-time favorite ones. So this is definitely a WonderCon. And it's Matt Wagner in the center, and Dave Mandel. He was at the time working on Seinfeld, but he again is another Matt Wagner fan. So me there at my humble booth, and again, what a great memory of just being.
Hey, you got a walk-in triple wall booth. It's not so humble.
Yeah, that is sweet.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. That I remember one of the years I went with Robert Jewell. So I would say it was a very good chance that he was at that show and was probably the photographer and arranged that, because that was definitely way too clever for me, to come up with that setup.
Come on.
but cool stuff on the walls there is like the Mike Plug paintings. So, again, for a while there, I worked with him, and some of my absolute favorite pieces in my collection, I was able to get from Mike.
See, there's another guy you missed. There's a few more, Jim. I just have this feeling there's a few more.
I'll say, I mean, he never did a business card for me, but
okay, that's what they got to do.
You remember.
But no, I mean, some great memories with Mike Plug as well, and some of his, the artwork, his stuff is just so charming. And when he does some of the heart too, but like the snowman painting he did for my wife for Christmas one year, and then one of my, certainly on my calf, when you go there on the landing page, that Can I Keep Him, the dinosaur with the boy. I mean, I still just get chills thinking.
You've always had some great tastes and connections in commissions, for sure.
Well, that wasn't a commission. That was that's a card art for
okay.
Mike Friedlander. There was the first Mike Plug card trading set, and that was the card. I mean, I wanted that piece for ages, for years and years and years and years, and he finally, there came a point where he had kept it, but then it was not like on display at his house, and he agreed to sell it to him. I got that piece, and then the Frankenstein and Bride painting from him in the same purchase, because there something came up at his end, and it, for as fate would have it, I actually did have like a little bit of extra money then, and like these pieces were ones that I just wanted so badly and cherished, and I'm just so honored to be the caretaker. But Can I Keep Him? My man cave downstairs, like that is the piece that's right to my right. I just like, I look at that and I just, wow.
What's the piece leaning against the door?
I was just gonna ask that, the Batman piece over your left shoulder.
Because Fred Chamberlain is asking that.
Oh, is it going to be too disruptive if I like pull it up? I mean,
no,
go ahead.
Okay,
we're not so formal here.
I put it here for a reason. If Bill maybe runs to my, or not runs, but clicks on my calf, and that's
that's huge
from John Byrne.
Bill, run!
Yeah.
I prepped this one.
So yeah.
Man, that's really.
And it was like such an incredible story about this, because going back to my very, very first interaction with John Byrne, when Mike Zeck took me to his house, and I'm again just like jaw dropped, the whole experience. And he had all his artwork framed on his walls. And one of the pieces he has framed up is a page from Swamp Thing 7 that has Batman standing in an alley with his cape flowing back. And like all this incredible stuff that John has, these great Kirby pieces and this and that. That was the piece I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, I can't believe you have this. And literally, it's been 30 plus years that, John has tortured me with that page. And every time I visit him, it's like, it's in his studio and I go and look at it. And this is morbid, but it's true. It's like, he doesn't want to part with it. But if he happens to predecease me, I'm pretty sure John's going to outlive all of us. But if he does predecease me, it was on the back of it. So, it'll come to me at that point. So flashback 7 years ago, and it was my 50th birthday, and it was a comic art con in September. And
you're giving away your age.
No, and I'm fine with that. I'm grateful to be 57 years old.
Absolutely.
I mean, God, better than the alternative, right?
Absolutely.
So anyhow, it's like John had not told me anything. It's like we're going to his house to pick up commissions, and I believe that well, definitely Bill Roberts was there, and I can't remember if Gary and Scott, all of us, whatever, but a group of us were there, and we go into a studio, and John hadn't said a word, and he had the original propped up on this, like, he has like the back portion of a car that is a couch. It sounds kind of weird, but you see like the bumper and stuff, and it's, couch, and that's propped up, and I'm looking at, it's like, I thought you might want to look at this, and I was like, wow, that's amazing, and then I read it, and it's like, happy birthday, Jim. I was like, oh my God. I still get tears in my eyes, just thinking John did that for me. But it's so hard to get a decent visual of what that piece looks like, because there was a very limited number of these commissions that he did, like these tonal effects on, where he goes in, some he does light pencil tones to give it that kind of zip-a-tone kind of effect. And this one he actually used like a wash. So anyhow, I just have it here.
Dun, dun, dun,
I don't
dun.
think you can really see it that
How
quick,
big it is.
but
Yeah, wow.
it's, this one is. Is that okay? I apologize for the glare.
No, that's good.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can't see the tonal stuff on
No.
Swamp Thing, in the scan that you have on your Kafka, but you can, it's so clear here that that's just an amazing piece
Hey,
of work.
just real quick, guys. Are we having problems with the comments? Mine just went blank, and then they're like,
No, I have all mine.
okay, mine are they're doing something
mine.
funky.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're up to
They're
date.
back. Oh, they're back now.
Okay. But yeah, so that was my 50th birthday present from John. So
Wow.
Wow.
forever grateful. And
That's a hell of a birthday present.
I know. I can't.
That's awesome. Again, Jim, we lead similar lives. John Romita did a similar thing for me for my 50th. I said, everything you're saying, I'm going like, I'm reliving everything you're saying. It's awesome. It's very, very cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I still expect to wake up. It's like I have to be dreaming, and it's like I'm gonna wake up and it'll be like plugged into the Matrix or something. It's just bonkers.
I feel like I'm watching the movie Twins. I mean,
No, it is. Literally, Jim, every day I wake up and I pinch myself thinking like, I can't believe it, from comic art, just like, to become a somebody when all of us were like little nobody, little goober geeks, as kids, and it's
Some
so
of us still are.
I know. But we're cool goober geeks.
All right.
That's for crying out loud.
Yeah, I don't want to miss showing this, a picture that Jim had sent me, because it didn't really fit in the conversation earlier. But
Yay! That's early '90s, late '80s, or something, right?
That was the weekend I did the inventory at John. So
Ah.
I took the photographs of the artwork, and then that's a photograph I took of John. So
that's that's '91 then.
Yep.
it just seems like he's missing an ascot, or he needs something in that. I don't know.
He could pass for Walt Simonson's brother.
Yeah, they definitely
back then. Yeah.
Yes, right.
But yep. So what a great memory that was too. Yeah, just amazing.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we got a minute. I had that commission back there, and I did send Bill another photograph of one that John did for my son and I.
Wow, look how big that is.
Wow, what is it? Oh wait, I see Kitty Pryde. Is that the alien? Is that from 143?
No, this is an interesting story, because for the commissions I get from John, I mean, certainly some of the ones that I've gotten, I've asked him to do specific things, but I like to give folks freedom, and it was like John is like such an incredibly driven creator, and he just had told me, like in a private conversation, he had this idea of a dinosaur stampede and the X-Men in the Savage Land, and he's like, I'm waiting for a chance to do it. So I'm like, all right, I think he actually brought it up. He says, all right, you're doing a commission now, aren't you? And this is like 2015. I'm like, yeah. I said, you've done so many already that but if you want to get that one out of your head, go ahead. So he did. So I was visiting him, I believe this was for like one of the Comic Art Con trips in say September, and John was finishing up, but he hadn't quite finished it. So I'm like, since this was kind of like for my son and I as well, I was like, I don't want to take it with me now or anything, but it's great seeing it, but I want to come there with my son and let him be the one to take possession of it. So this was John working on it sometime in advance, and then like he put it aside for a while, but it wasn't like he spent months working on it, but he at least he was getting it out of his system. So then if Bill can show the other picture, this is the finished result. This is Matt now. It's funny, like you see that picture of Matt and me at the Comic Art Con, and like how much he's grown, and now Matt is like 6'2", but this is the commission. It takes like 2 people, but I've got that one behind me, and like I said, not many people have seen it, but
wow,
it's 30 by 40, and if you can imagine like how big a 30 by 40 piece of art is,
huge.
It's just enormous. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So that is like 4 twice up pages put together.
Yeah, actually, I've got the original here. I don't know if I can even get it in the frame.
What does that comment say below Kataka?
What's that?
What is that? 01F929? What is that in the box?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The very last comment. Well,
It's just a smiley face.
Oh, okay. It's coming up goofy on my.
Yeah, it's just a smiley face with hearts in the eyes.
All right, that's the internal code. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, guess you can kind of see.
Wow. No, that shows perfectly.
But this will show you the idea of like, here's the.
Yeah.
So that's 11 by 17 ish, a little bit bigger actually, but pretty darn big.
Four twice up pages, or probably 6 standard size pages.
Yeah, easy.
My computer's good, Encore.
Yeah.
It's almost 4 standard size pages.
Yeah, it'd be almost 8 small covers. Yeah. Wow. That should be made into a published poster.
I'm hoping at some point, the fences
powers that be,
that the stars align, because there's been some discussions, and I mean, I'm not privy to them, but I actually have talked to some folks on the inside, and there's definitely a desire there, but if there ever is, I've been told that some of this stuff will definitely be printed for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great piece.
Awesome.
Like I said, not many folks have seen that one. And I'm not even sure if John posted it on his site. He may have, but it's not there now.
That's a beauty.
Big and wonderful.
Yeah. Again, it's just like
dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, my son loves dinosaurs. I think most boys probably love dinosaurs. And obviously,
I think Jurassic Park got a lot of people into dinosaurs back in the day, boy.
Always loved them.
Movies, great movies.
Just was fascinated with dinosaurs. Yeah.
So you did send me a few other pieces of artwork, Jim. Do you mind if I show a few other pieces here?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. There you can see the date, 1986. So
Not the Wagner.
I kind of have the story of this one in calf, but just in a nutshell, this was actually, I guess, my very first road trip out of state. And again, Lynn went with me to Philadelphia, and it was one of those incredible Fred Greenberg shows. It was in the basement. It's just like you were mentioned earlier, Will. It was the basement of some kind of dilapidated hotel in the heart of Philly. But I made it there, and
that's a couple different hotels.
Okay. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a Fred Greenberg show, but he had the most incredible lineup if you were, a fan of then comics. Because at that one show, I remember, I walked in and Tim Truman was there. That's where I met Tim for the first time, exchanged numbers. Standing in line to meet Tim Truman, I met my buddy George Belliard, who's going on to, he's like C.B. Cebulski. It was Joe Quesada's, and then now C.B. Cebulski's kind of, guy inside of Marvel, kind of a, helper, jack of all trades and stuff. But Nick says, Franklin Hotel, 12th and Market.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. No, I was. There's a hotel up on between 17th and 18th in JFK. I was going to guess that because there's been Greenberg shows there as well.
Well, actually, Nick, that's not a cover. That's a sketch Matt did for me. And my favorite issue of Mage was number 6, where he fought the Red Caps, him and Mirth. And I went to that convention specifically to meet Matt Wagner because I was such a huge fan of his stuff. And then getting there, like I said, I met Tim Truman, Marshall Rogers was there, Charles Vest was there. And it was just like so many incredible creators. And Matt hadn't shown up yet. And so I met, like I said, my buddy George Belliard at the Tim Truman line, and got some other sketches, contacts, and this and that. And then, like the curtains parted, and Matt Wagner entered the convention hall. And it's just like he looked just like Kevin Matchstick in Mage, and I saw him, and I ran over to him. I'm like, man, I drove all the way from Maryland to meet you. Sorry about that. Can't believe I talked that long. I didn't take a drink. And so Matt was like, he's like, Yeah, sure, dude. I'll do a sketch for you. Just I don't even know where my table's at this point. So he still remembered that. And then like flashing forward to that WonderCon photo with Dave Mandel and me, he still remembered that, that fanboy geek interaction that I had with him. But yeah, this is like one of the true most cherished memories of my whole collection. Just like, wow.
Nice.
What a memory. But first time driving on my own, like, elsewhere. But shit, man, it's almost 40 years ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah, look at all the markers fading. See that?
Yeah,
So
but it's hanging up. I can't.
It still works. It still works
on my wall here, but it's like it looks better than that scan does. My scanner doesn't do a very good job of the color pieces for
capturing inks.
No, and
some are like that.
Well, you did say you have an older scanner.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I have one of those Mustech A3 EPs or whatever.
It still works, so why replace it?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm so technologically deficient that, I know how to do this. So until it dies, then I'm not going to change.
Join the club.
Hey, I have to tell you, how excited were you with Fitzmagic the other night with that throw at the end of the game?
Wow.
If you want to go all the way to the end?
Oh, my God. If they don't win this week, it's going to be so devastating. Or at least if they don't make the playoffs, because they definitely
yeah, they have to win to be in. My Browns are in the same situation.
I think can't the Dolphins lose and the Colts lose for the Dolphins to get in?
I think so.
Okay, but the Colts probably aren't going to lose. I don't think they're playing anybody near as hard as
they play Jacksonville, but yeah, Tennessee. But anyway,
when you guys are ready, I'm already on the couch waiting for you. Faithful Eagles fan here, and not our year.
Hey, you got a Super Bowl a couple years ago. You're out of the picture. You got yours.
We need more, and it's not looking good.
Hey, of all of us here, poor me and Bill are the only ones that have never seen a Super Bowl for our city. So cut us some slack here.
Listen, Ohio's like the Bermuda Triangle. I've been saying this for years. You got, I know so many people in Ohio, and it's you guys are there. So, but it is like the Bermuda Triangle a little bit.
Yeah.
We're used to it.
If LeBron hadn't won, that'd be true. So at least we got that.
Oh yeah. So and my Caps won. That's my bucket list item was Caps winning the Stanley Cup.
Did they win last year or something?
No, 2018.
Oh, 18. I knew they won recently.
Mikey, get it right. Same year as the Eagles.
I don't follow hockey at all.
The Eagles.
Our team lost. Our team left in the 70s, so I don't follow hockey anymore.
You got another team. You got the Columbus Blue Jackets.
That's too far away.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's the same state.
Doesn't have a catchy name either. Blue Jackets.
We did have the Lake Erie Monsters, but that wasn't much of a team either. So
a little catchier.
Yeah,
it was. I like the name.
Yeah, I do too.
You could do a hell of a symbol, Well,
we're still hoping that the Cleveland Indians turn into the Spiders, so they could have a lot of Spider-Man logos at the ballpark. I'll be wearing this shirt, and everybody else think I'm an Indians fan or Cleveland fan.
It all comes back to Spider-Man or Ramita, folks.
Let's hope we become the Cleveland Spiders next year.
We picked up on that theme.
A baseball there, yeah. So.
Hey,
right.
so Joseph made a comment way back up there, but we've just been carrying on about he had to sell pieces, unfortunately, too cheap, and he was talking about how he had a piece that was Captain America underwater with a mouthpiece, and it had yellowed, and that is actually the interior splash for Captain America number 103, which is a fantastic splash. Yellowed or not,
that one.
And it has a piece out of the corner too. Little bit of the piece of paper came out, and it went into the art a little bit, but. I know where it is now, and I'd love to own it. Hint, hint. My buddy on the West Coast. Hint, hint.
Yeah, I used to own that one too. That was an awesome one.
It is. And it's funny when I was a kid, in my formative art collecting years, I thought, but Cap has a mouthpiece. I can't buy that. Why? He's got a mouthpiece, and now I'm like.
I'll have stories like that.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to just interject here. I can't believe it's 10:34 and Bill Robert's left a comment. Holy crap, Bill, this is so past your bedtime.
Oh man, they're Patriots fans. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, And
Wait, what was the team that the Eagles beat in 2018? Oh, yeah.
it's the same team that the Dolphins knocked out of the playoff picture this year.
The Philly special. They did it better than Brady tried to do it and looked kind of silly. Just saying.
The stars were aligned that year for your team.
They did have a lot of good years, though.
That's all it had to be. They lined up.
Yeah.
Bill,
Okay.
you're looking at something intently.
Well, I was trying to find that 103 image, but we do have like 2 more artworks that
I got that for you, Bill. Just give me a second.
Oh, you okay? Because it wasn't on CAF, so I was trying to do a Google image search.
Collecting images is my newest hobby. I still collect original art, but images are nice too sometimes.
Well, here, let me pull up. Let's see, what do we got here?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Ooh, almost hit the wrong.
At Wagner.
Yeah, just an example of a recent Matt Wagner, relatively recent, but Shadow number 100 cover. So just thought that was a pretty cool piece. If folks aren't familiar with Matt's stuff, or if they just know him for Grendel or Mage. Or even
People probably don't notice. I love that one skull has that one eyeball in it. That is classic.
Isn't that? It's kind of like a Jim Steranko effect. Kind
I
of.
know. I love the one eyeball.
Yeah.
The whole background.
What is the symbolism? What is going on there with the one eyeball?
I think it's just something Matt threw in to be really cool. But yeah, that is
funny.
That's a pretty sweet piece.
Feels like some secret society thing going on there. I don't know. So there we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an awesome piece.
Look at that whole top edge. Just
Oh, it actually does not get into the drawing.
Oh, it doesn't get into the art though, but it's
bottom left corner. Yeah.
Bottom left corner too. Yeah. Yeah, the other corner looks clipped like it was on purpose, but yeah, those corners are little ratty, and it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, let me put the glasses on.
Just got
so the borders, the vertical borders, the long borders, that looks like rice paper reinforcement to me. So this would have been a oh man, I'm having a brain fart moment. Mike, help me out. Early restore.
Ciccone? Susan Ciccone?
No, and not Bill
Cyril?
Not Bill Cyril. And I apologize to him because Roger Hill. I apologize to Roger Hill. So Roger Hill, I think, owned a lot of these Captain America splashes and covers at one point, and actually learned to restore on some of these pieces. And not that he did a bad job, but it is visible, the rice paper reinforcement along the edges. Little tidbit.
I'm surprised why he would do the sides and not the corners.
Well, probably just maybe they were fraying and just wanted to reinforce them. And like you said, it didn't go into the art. Look, it's a beautiful piece. This piece was in Europe for many years. And when I had the opportunity, I didn't get it because of the mouthpiece, but boy, do I regret that one, because what a beautiful piece.
That's gorgeous. I love that head. It's gorgeous. Yeah, but why is he eating that piece of metal, Will?
Right. I love Nick Brucci's comment.
No. Well, it's part of the story. He was sneaking into the not Skull Island, the Exiles base. There you go.
But why is he not wearing goggles? There's no way he could see underwater like that.
Because he's a super soldier, Mike. He doesn't need goggles. He just needs a little bit of oxygen.
He has super soldier contacts too, huh?
A mouth rebreather. That's all he needed. This is Steve frickin' Rogers, if you don't know. Okay.
Oh, I thought he ate Modoc or something. I wasn't sure.
For breakfast, yeah. But
no, that's an awesome piece.
That's an amazing. It reminds me of like the things where you see like a fan blowing in somebody's face and their lips are.
Oh yeah. The skin is moving around.
Yeah. But wow, I mean that is a phenomenal and historic piece for sure.
Yeah, Roger Hill is he started the CFA APA too.
And my apologies to Roger. I should have remembered you. You were one of the first people I spoke with in the hobby, and I just had a little brain fart moment. But it came back.
Okay.
Yes, he has made many contributions to the hobby. That's for sure.
I'm just shocked that Will's database had a glitch in it for even a split second.
You know what happens when I can't remember something? I force myself because I refuse to have this problem as I get older. So I force myself, and it makes me recall, and I actually recall better than when I was 30. Yeah. Seriously.
It's
a stubbornness. It's not, it's a stubbornness. I just refuse to be like a fuddy-duddy, can't remember shit,
I'm there, buddy. It sucks.
I refuse, so it might take, a moment, but it comes.
You have more art images, Bill? You said
I've got one more.
Oh, hey, okay. There we go.
Yeah, it's just a recent Matt Wagner commission. Yeah,
wow, that's one heck of a commission.
That'll have to go in my best of. I'm gonna have to get on off the can here and get some stuff loaded up, whatever.
And the use of red, is there any symbolism in that?
Well, it's Hunter Rose, rose.
Yeah.
And then a lot of Matt's imagery is black, white, and red. So if you a lot of his Grendel stuff, there's even like mini series is like black, white, and red, white, and black, where it's short stories that have different stories are different.
Have not been reading my Grendel, obviously.
That's all right. Everybody has their niche. I just
can't be everywhere.
Can't be everywhere, and Matt was just one of those guys. When in my formative years, it was like Mike Zeck, John Byrne, Matt Wagner. Those were
okay.
Yeah. And then I guess also writes in just as far as like being aware of just like a phenomenal artist that just
how great he was.
Oh my God!
Yeah. It's funny you say that, Jim. Again, I tell everybody, I said if I wasn't collecting Spider-Man, I would have been the writes-in guy for horror and Swamp Thing. I think he's one of the greatest artists I've ever seen.
I thought you would have been the Plu guy, Mike.
No, I would have been Mr. Wrightson.
Okay.
Wrightson Jr. I would have been. Yeah. I loved Wrightson's art. Was the first art that literally made me just go, wow, when I held the actual art piece in my hand. Yeah. Right, Tim?
It's amazing.
His line work is amazing,
Yeah.
Like I said, him, Mac Raboy, and Alex Raymond are the three guys that they could draw lines the thickness of a hair. And I said, I just don't know how they did it. And it was just amazing. Yeah. What kind of brush they had, Wow.
Like one brush or one little hair whisker.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. I always told people, just like Raboy, I said, how can a man draw a head the size of a pea and you could see the crow's feet under the eyes still? And I go, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
But they do it.
It's amazing.
That feels like a Burkeyism at the dinner table. How can a man draw a head the size of a pea?
And you still see the crow's feet under the eyes. It's amazing.
You got to be there, folks. This guy's hilarious at the dinner table.
Yeah.
There was one other piece I did forget. It's a Byrne piece, actually.
Oh, wow.
Hey.
Oh, you still have that? Okay.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh.
It's the last page, right? I remember that last page, issue 1.
Issue 1, yeah, that one. Wow,
even I remember that one, and I'm not a DC guy.
Yeah, that one is so special because as I said, the Wolverine was my commission for doing the inventory of John's art. So when I did have that sale, the first time I sold his artwork, and then went back to his place, he let me get this as my very first commission. And
wow,
you can't see
Fred, you're in rare form tonight, my friend.
But if you look on the barn, like above upper right-hand corner.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually read it.
To Jim.
It says
to Jim, who does
has done a few super things in his time.
Okay. I will second that one.
And that's in reference to the inventory because, it was very helter-skelter, but, that one is definitely downstairs,
Okay. Jim, I didn't know if you needed a new vintage tractor for the back,
Oh, no.
And this had to go.
Look into that. That was, I guess that was another interview, but Felix Liu has done like the podcast or whatever, and had Dave as a guest on there, and he told that story. And Dave's a much better, storyteller than myself, but it's all true. Where he basically talked me out of this incredible Walt Simonson piece that I've been fortunate enough to have, and only thing he got wrong was that he literally called our local John Deere dealer up and gave him the American Express card. And I had to make sure it was all right for them to do that.
Oh wow,
the tractor, and I still have that tractor. So
that's funny. I was seriously joking, but I know you use like a tractor, a hand mower, and a sitting, right?
no, I don't have a sitting. I mean, the tractor is my sitting mower because the we just have, you know, I want to say it's whatever. It's maybe a 1/4 acre fenced in for our dog in the backyard, but then everything else is just fields and stuff. I planted a gazillion trees, but I still have to use the tractor with the 5-foot, mowing deck. But
You are the most dedicated yardsman I've met. Yeah, I gotta tell you. Yeah.
You got no idea because like you haven't been to our place in a while. If you saw it,
I haven't.
You would freak out because I've learned that as you get older, even if you're even a tractor, it just kind of sucks to be like cutting that much grass. So there's a thing in Maryland, I guess a lot of states have it, but the Forestry Service, if you plant trees on open land, you'll get a major tax break. So literally
Wow.
I'm paying like, $1,000 or more on like 5 of our acres. And I got these pine trees for like a penny each from the Forestry Service, planted them. And now they're like, 40 feet tall pines, but I don't have to cut them, but the Dave Mandel tractor is still there. We still have, like 3 acres that has to be mowed, but I can't.
So you're instead of 3 days a week, you're down to 1 day a week.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. I do love it. It's very therapeutic.
No, you have to, because when you told me that, you're like, well, I cut, I don't know, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I was like, what? I pay a guy to come out and cut my.
You sound like John Byrne. It's just like you get other people to do that for you.
Listen. That was my second business was lawn cutting when I was, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, and I mean I would do in a good summer week, I don't know, $150, which at 10, 12 years old is, you can buy a lot of comics.
You can buy a heck of a lot of and artwork.
But
Car.
I used to cut the church parsonage. I mean, by the time I was like in high school, I was like, I'm not cutting grass. I'm done.
Will's a lot
I did,
younger.
but
Will's a lot younger than us. Here in Ohio, 3 of us used to spend 3 hours shoveling a yard, and we split $5. We're shoveling for 3 hours each. Here you're making $150 mowing grass, you youngin.
Well, it was a few lawns, but Mike, it's all about negotiating and smiling and
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Howell. Wow.
I think your brother has probably negotiated a bad deal for you on that one, Mike.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Nah, not John. It would have been Mikey himself. John wouldn't have done
No,
it.
I was in the background back then. I was the youngest.
I had no idea that you guys. I mean, that was my history too. Shovel snow in the winter, and
Oh yeah, delivering papers. I used to deliver papers for 3 cents a paper when I started collecting comics.
My very first business with my neighbor across the street, he had a red wagon. I had a cooler. We used to go to this little cheap discount place and get soda for anywhere from 17 to 19 cents a can. It varied week to week. And we lived near a golf course, and we'd go through, and there's a hole in the fence. We'd go through on the weekends. We'd sit there for 7, 8, 9 hours, and we'd sell soda for 50 cents a can. So we were making, 30 some cents a can, and a good day, a couple $100 between 2 10-year-olds. Well, I was 9, he was 10. It was my very first business. Until we got kicked off when the township realized how much money we were raking in. They kicked us off, and they opened up a snack stand.
Yeah.
But we did that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 summers.
Nice.
That's a good gig.
very impressive.
If I had only known about original art back then.
All of us say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but at 10, you got a couple $100 a week to spend.
Man.
You should have just bought Microsoft in '85 and not worried about it.
I would have bought art.
Oh,
See, you spoke blasphemy to me, Burkey. See what happens?
it's Sal
Don't do
Buscema.
it.
Nobody cares about Sal Buscema.
Oh, that's not on. Now you're gonna get Nick Cotratus all riled up. Come on.
Sal Buscema is worthless. That's why I.
Okay, you're gonna get Nick all riled, and I like Sal, and so does
Sal
Ilko.
Buscema's great.
I
So
like Sal too.
yeah,
That's of Ultron.
Here, here, hold it up again. I'll put you on the solo here. There you go. You can show it off.
I just got
Oh,
it.
that
That's the
page.
Voltron from Avengers 68. Yeah.
That's the page you showed me a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Happy
That's
days.
Just got it in. Yeah.
Now you're
Okay.
throwing it on the floor.
Yeah. I said I must have a ghost.
Yeah, Bruce.
You spoke blasphemy, Burkey. That's what it was.
No, it's only Submariner you'll buy. You're a Submariner guy. The winged feet man. It's all good.
So Fred Chamberlain did ask Jim, what is your prized piece of art in your collection?
Man, I mean, honest to God, it's like you can't pick just one. I mean,
Isn't that true? Isn't that
really true? Because so many of them have different memories. But I would say it would have to be, the Mike Zeck graffiti piece. It's got my name on it because that was just like incredible.
Literally got your name on it.
Yeah, and then the John Byrne 50th birthday, because that was just such an incredible.
I love the elongated Swamp Thing face. It adds an element. His face is like drawn a little longer, and it just adds a nice element to it.
Well, just the history, the whole history of that thing, and knowing John that has the rights and that I covet so much, but he did this for me. It's a complete surprise. That's definitely. I mean,
that's awesome.
I mean, if I had to pick one, it would be that one, just because it was just such,
so personal.
Yeah, I mean, it was just wow.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and the big 5-0 in the corner.
Yeah, well, it's just, what can I say? It still brings like tears to my eyes, just thinking of that moment and everything, and just the incredible, surprise of it, and wow. But
that's
the
awesome.
Piece again was just like Mike didn't tell me that he did that, and just like sent me the Xerox. And it's like I could have looked at Xerox if I didn't look at it carefully. I might not have seen my name. And it's just like I was just poring over because that was such an incredible piece in my eyes. And then to get to my name, it's just like, oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, those are the two. But as far as like they're the ones that just like grip my heart. But as far as like favorites, that Mike Plug, can I keep them? I look at that, and every day that just brings a smile to my face. That piece is just like, for me personally, being a kid growing up like around woods and bringing home like frogs and snakes and stuff and freaking my mother out, and it's just like that was just so perfect. Obviously the dinosaur is such a ridiculous thing, but it just
is that saying on the card itself because it's not on the art, right?
No, it's just a painting, but that's the title. Like if you get the card.
Oh, that's what I was wondering. It's on the card.
It is.
That is the perfect saying for that piece.
Yeah. And it's like
well, thank goodness you never brought home anything that big from the woods, because
well, my mother passed early, but she was just terrified of like snakes. I remember where we lived, we didn't have like a lot of land, but our backyard bordered the park, and there were lots of snakes and stuff. And I remember I caught a little hognose snake and put it into a coffee can and brought it up and showed my mother. And it was like, it was a miracle that didn't, do her in, because she was just so terrified of snakes. Just that when I see that dinosaur, just brings back those memories. So.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I said real quick, I have a funny story just like that. I was the youngest of 4, and we lived in a very small. 6 of us lived in a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom growing up, and but anyway, I wanted a dog so bad. My mom said no. My mom went to the store. I said, people up the street had a little dog they were getting rid of. Dad goes, if your mother says okay, it's okay. So I go to Mom and I go, Mom, Dad said it's okay. Is it okay? And he goes, if he said it's okay. And I go to Dad, Mom said it's okay. Is it okay with you? He goes, yeah. So I already had the dog, and they go, what's this dog doing in the yard? I go, you both said it was okay. And we had a dog. So.
And that's how you've talked me into so many art deals.
Yes.
Is it okay? It's okay. It's okay.
I said everybody else said you should do it, so you should do it.
Oh man.
Something like that.
So.
Do you have any pets now, Mike?
What's that?
Do you have any pets now?
In my house now, just because I have 2 cats. Our dogs went to my brother's house because he has 7 acres with a pond. So the dogs we had stayed with my brother at the other house, and I have 2 cats here. So
cool. Yeah,
but the dogs visit all the time. But I am a big dog guy, but I just don't have enough land here for a dog, so I keep my cats. So.
Well, that's great. And we have
Get a golden retriever and swim in the lake, Mikey.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we're almost at 2 hours here.
Yeah.
Time does fly when you're having
Time
fun.
flies when you're having fun. Yeah, and I didn't even give any funny, signal,
I know.
wink or anything.
I did tell Jim to look out for that, and I was
Well,
looking for it too. We didn't have one.
Well, it's so much more enjoyable without Glenn here. So,
Oh.
I missed Glenn was what I was meant to say.
Oh.
And,
No, Listen. I've been on these guys about keeping it shorter, and yeah, sometimes I give the little something wink, but or I'll text them and you'll hear a ding, and that's
Will
me
knows
saying,
we're allowed to hit 2 hours. Yeah.
wrap it up. But no, none of that this time. It's absolutely a pleasure, our pleasure having you.
It was
Absolutely.
a great time.
Yeah, and Jim, we talked about potentially doing a different interview with some other stuff too. And Jim was telling me that he has a whole floor in his house with like 100 framed pieces. That I was like, we have to figure out how we can do a walkthrough one day.
I haven't seen that. I haven't been there in a minute then, because you had a lot of, but I would have said maybe 25.
Oh no, because where the TV's at, there's at least 45, or well, it's got to be at least 40.
Oh no, and there's more.
Yeah, I said our second interview will take pictures of everything on the walls.
Well,
Yeah.
when COVID is over, if we're welcome, we may take the show on the road a few times. So
That's possible too. But yeah, we were definitely thinking of doing something with that. Some kind of a walkthrough, maybe getting a second camera, using his phone, kind of like when I did the Zerzolo interview in their offices, and he had a second device and walked around and showed pieces. So you never know. But definitely there will probably be a part 2 to the Jim Warden interview, I believe.
hey.
And then we talked about maybe a pogo thing too, possibly.
That is true. That's also
When you
true.
talk about that, I figured this conversation, if most folks are going to be interested in John Byrne, Mike Zeck, whatever, that stuff. But the whole Walt Kelly thing is when it took a life of its own, and I kind of picked up a crazy amount of his stuff over the years. But
Yep. That's definitely a different show. Yeah, but we talked about bringing in some other guests for that. But again, Jim, it was great having you on tonight. I appreciate you taking the time. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
And last show of 2020.
That's true too.
What a way to go out.
I've decided I don't want to be on the show till next year. I'm done.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me if we to renegotiate your contract.
Yeah, I want double pay.
You got it.
That's 2 dinners. Next time we see each other instead of 1.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I always have to remind people, if you're not watching on YouTube, definitely pop over to YouTube and click the subscribe button so you never miss any of these updates, because Facebook kind of sucks in that way as far as like getting it out and reminding people. YouTube does a much better job. So if you're ever over there, or even if you're not, go over there and subscribe. Everybody's got a Google account, so you can't say that you can't log in and do it. So
are we on next week, Bill?
We are on next week, and we are doing a show about affordable art from Comic Art Masters.
Oh, yeah. There is.
Okay.
So-
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good one. And I do have a cat.
Albert and Bashar can't be on that one. Okay, go ahead.
Wow. Well, they could talk about it.
Man, they really got to you, didn't they, Mike?
I love those guys.
Yeah. By love, you mean something else, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually, so tomorrow night I do have my last CAF update of the year too, and I've got I have Kenneth Carter, who's a collector on CAF. He'll be my guest, so that'll probably won't be a 2-hour show. That'll be a shorter show. So that'll be my last show of 2020.
Oh,
so,
because you couldn't do it on New Year's.
I wasn't going to do it on New Year's, yeah. And so then we have the Comic Art Live show next Tuesday, and then the Thursday after that, if all holds true, it will be Albert Moy on my CAF update.
What?
The Moy did not want to come on with us. I'm going to have a field day with him when I see him.
Well, you could heckle him in the comments that day.
Yeah, he doesn't want the competition.
What do you know?
I wanted him to be on the show with you guys, but he said I'd rather just hang out with you.
Of course.
So I'm holding him
I'll
to it.
heckle him all right.
Right, you guys just have to sit in the peanut gallery.
Might have to join in the festivities.
Yeah. No, that'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. So that's the next Thursday. So again, thanks everybody, and I'll see some of you tomorrow night. And
Happy New Year, everybody! Happy New Year! Stay safe.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you very
Happy
much,
New Year.
everybody, for
See you in
Nice meeting you.